Hey everybody, welcome to another GoodEReader.com review video. My name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Today we're going to take a look at the Icarus Pocket. This is a brand new 6-inch e-ink Pearl reader. It is one of the better ones that we've looked at. It's not touch screen, but it does have page turn buttons on both the left and right hand side. So it's very easy to hold in one hand depending on if you're left or right handed. So it's very versatile in that capacity. 800 by 600 is the resolution, 4 gigs of internal storage, and you could increase it up to 32 gigs. It has built-in Wi-Fi, lasts between 5 and 10 weeks. It also has audio functionality, and it reads plenty of e-book formats, as you can see on the side of the box here. It is also Adobe DRM compliant, so you could load your own books that you've purchased from Barnes & Noble, Kobo, or other retailers that sell them in EPUB format. Peter here is going to give you the full 360.
Alright, looking at it head on, don't really see anything like it. Button layout's similar, but in terms of shape and shape of the buttons and all that, it's pretty unique. Laser inscribed Icarus on the top, left and right page turn buttons on either side. Very much akin to what Kindle does. I know that another kind of third-party brand pocketbook has just on the one side, so it's nice to see that they're on both sides. Home button, M button, which is a menu and sometimes kind of like a right click. Up, down, left, right navigation with OK confirmation, back, and a kind of like a reload. Weird button, don't really utilize it a lot in just the processes we've gone through in using this device. Nothing on the bottom, nothing on the right, nothing on the left. All the fun stuff's happening up top here. 3.5mm headphone jack. You must have headphones plugged in order for the audio player to work. It will prompt you to put them in if you don't have them in. Mini USB. You can see the kind of bulge you get by using a mini USB as opposed to micro, but that's fine. Power button used to sleep and unsleep and then turn off and turn on your device. Status indicator light. Hard reset button.
Hard reset buttons are normally employed if you're not too familiar, if the e-reader becomes drastically unresponsive and freezes, and so you could put a pin or something like that in it to do a hard reset. This is the main home menu here. As you can see, it lets you know the last book that you're currently reading, so you could just click on the cover art, go right into it. You have your recent reads, your books, images, music, file manager, settings, and your manual. Let's check out books, because this is pretty well how you're going to go. By default, you can see this is how it looks. So you have a lot of foreign language support. This e-reader has support for like Polish, Italian, English, Spanish, and a ton of others. So this is truly a very solid international e-reader. So this is your main library shelf for the books that we loaded on ourselves. So we're going to show you how newspapers, ebooks, comics, and how a very image heavy and very large PDF Dungeon Master guide looks. So without further ado, let's get just into the ebook experience first. And this is all these books are our go-to books, so you can consider them benchmarks. We load the same books on every single e-reader to give you a sense on how the same content looks. You could take a look. It doesn't look too bad. Very, very readable. Page turn speeds, very good. You saw every 6 pages we're seeing that full screen refresh, and there's no options to augment that like the Excel, which actually allows you to disable refreshing so you never see that view there. You see a number of options here: go to page, text search, page settings, and a fair number of things like bookmarks and things like that. You could also change the orientation, much like the Kindle, where it's software driven. Doesn't have a built-in accelerometer or gyroscope, but you could do a total 360-degree orientation, whether you want to read it in landscape or portrait mode. Let's take a look at some of the font settings that we can employ to augment our reading experience. So you can see, very Kobo, very Kindle-y.
Yeah, the first thing you kind of notice when you look at this is it looks pretty much identical to the Amazon Kindle's layout, except they have a lot more font sizes. It actually goes up to 72 font. So it's looking like they got over 20 different font size options. So that's going to be really useful for people that do have difficulty reading. You'll see that we'll just go to an extremity here, 60 font size points. A little bit of a load time, but you see even people with the hardest of eyesight can easily read that, which I think is, a good idea. I mean, not everyone can read the stock settings on only about 6 to 8 font options, whereas this gives you the ability to do so.
Yeah, and one thing I like about it is you see a little bit of a load time, but it's dynamically updating the entire book in real time. And other e-readers, especially really budget to even mid range, you have to change a font and then you have to exit the font to actually populate the settings. Everything is done in real time, and this is very akin to like the way that Kobo, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon do things. So it's pretty comparable to being able to change your line spacing, your margins, being able to change your font type completely if you want to, as well as go back to the publisher defaults. If you screw up a bunch of fonts and you have no idea what the defaults are, you can basically go to publisher default and go back to those stock settings. So I'm a huge fan, and again, this is a side-loaded book, so you have full options to be able to do it. Now, do we have any types of highlights, annotations? Do we have any support with that?
There's not too much on this. You can add bookmarks, so you see you put the little ribbon in the corner, so if you go forward, you can bookmark your page. You'll notice that it's gone, but when you go back, there it is once more. If you just go through the options at the bottom here, there's not too much. You can search for text on a specific page, or you can choose go to page, table of contents, auto page turning for people who like to put this on a stand and just kind of watch it cycle through, so you don't have to really hold it, for kind of like speed readers and all that. And then you have auto page setting, which is just kind of like more of a timer kind of thing. There's not too much to augment your reading, such as notes and highlights and annotations and exporting annotations. It's a lot less customizable than most e-readers, but it gets the job done, especially on a side-loaded book.
Yeah, I mean, fairly basic. You're not going to be able to look things up in the dictionary. This is a very cost-effective e-reader. You're looking at about about anywhere between $149 and about $189 on average for it. It's very cost-effective. I like it because, and a lot of other readers will like it because it's not touchscreen. You're not reliant on swiping gestures and using a stylus. It's old school page turns, so anybody could really pick this up and use it. It doesn't require a lot of technological know-how. Let's take a look at newspaper experience, and this is what you're basically going to get in terms of your PDF support.
So we load these ones on because it's a good mix of banners, italics, bolds, and just a little bit of shades. So we've this is a very familiar one to us. So you can see that when you page turn, there's going to be a little indicator that says you're not done the full length of the page by a little arrow there. So if you page turn, it's actually going to scroll down till you have no more arrow, and the arrow is now at the top, indicating there's more above, and so forth. So what you can do to augment your PDF readability, you'll see that the layout for the menu button, the M at the bottom, is exactly the same except for a couple additions. There's reflow. So if we choose reflow on there, you'll see that it, instead of the 2-column split, it puts it, and it actually doesn't cut any text. It optimizes it for maximum usability on screen real estate on a 6-inch reader. So you can see your bolds are there, page numbers there, everything's nice and laid out perfectly fine for you. Once again, everything's titles show up right on the next page. So far, both this one, the Icarus Pocket, and the Icarus Excel have done tremendous jobs reflowing complex PDFs.
Yeah, it does a better job than even some of the Sony, especially the Sony PST2, which traditionally Sony was very strong with reflows on a 6-inch e-reader. I think this probably does a bit better of a job.
I would say so too. Of course, the Sony PST2 does have pinch and zoom, but pinch and zoom, so it is it's a little quicker, but you know, this does definitely get the job done. And you can see here, Michael's just gone into font size options, and you can go also to screen adaptation, so you can push the screen in or make it, it's kind of like margins for PDFs. So there's a couple things you can do here. You can expand the text. It's really good at kind of knowing that even though it's a PDF, it does kind of read that this is customizable text. So, you know, with all the reflows and text flow and the text augmentations, it does a good job changing it. So we also have another thing here, gray levels. So you can choose how faded you want it or how much contrast you want to add to it. You can see it's a little clearer in the naked eye that it is getting lighter and darker. So
I like the ability to be able to make lighter and darker fonts, and this is something that a lot of e-readers don't allow you to change. Most of the time a font is a font. You could change the size in some cases, you can zoom in other cases, but there's very few actual e-readers out there on the market that actually allow you to, you know, change the contrast in effect.
Oh, I would say, yeah, exactly. I mean, we have e-readers now that have glow light kind of slider bars, but to have contrast settings and grayscale settings right there at your fingertips, I think that's a really good addition. I should also note there's not too many options. In fact, there's no options for annotations, boxing highlights, and exporting annotations like we've seen on some of the bigger stuff from Icarus. So you're fairly limited, but for 6-inch e-reader, I think it does a tremendous job.
Okay, so we took a look at mainly the overall e-reading experience. Of course, you could, you know, do a lot of other things with this. It's very good for side loading your own books. So if you're the type of user that downloads a lot of content, you know, from the internet, you can really sort of enjoy a lot of, you know, PDFs, EPUBs, PRCs, texts. I mean, it supports so many different formats, plus Adobe DRM, as I mentioned before, that you're pretty well good to go. Anything that you could pretty well get for free on the internet, you could sideload onto this. And so I really like that. And it's very new user friendly because a lot of e-readers have complicated directory structures. So when you sideload your own books, you have to be careful on what directory you put it in and such. With this, you pretty well just drag and drop with Windows Explorer and throw everything into like the root folder. What we're looking at is a comic book right now. It's the same type of experience that you would see with the PDF with the newspaper that we showed you. It has reflow options, different levels of zooming. It really allows you to kind of find that sweet spot. As you can see, text is really small, but you know, once you zoom in, like we kind of showed you in the prior newspaper, you can kind of find that sweet spot. And the same goes with the Dungeons and Dragons PDF file that we have loaded on here. It's a very large PDF. With most e-readers, sometimes the larger PDFs take a few minutes more to load, but this e-reader seems like it handles complex images fairly fast. Page turn speeds are fast, and I do like the versatility with being able to, you know, zoom in different degrees and things like that. As you can see, Peter's zooming in. And with most other readers, it's just not zooming in on this one page, but it's actually zooming in on the entire document. So that's why things, you saw that loading screen actually took a few seconds because it's applying to the whole document. So when you're turning pages throughout the book, it's maintaining that level of zoom, which I like because some of like the Sony PRS-T2, it doesn't really have great reflow options, but because it's touchscreen, it allows you to pinch and zoom. But when you turn a page, you lose all that pinching and zooming, so you have to re-pinch and zoom every page that you do. So documents, music, it does a lot, and like Peter said, in order to get the music happening, you actually have to physically plug in headphones or you get an error message saying you can do it. We get a lot of emails from people that say, look, I like listening to music the same time I'm reading a book. What e-reader can I get? Well, you can get this one, and we'll let Peter explain a little bit more.
So as Michael said, yes, you do need to plug in a headset in order to listen to the music, or else it plain won't let you. And as he also said, this will play throughout the menus and all that. So if you also go to books, you will notice that when we were cycling through our options, under the menu, let's let this load up, you'll notice that on the bottom right corner there was an option for music player. And we'll show you this in one sec. So if you go to the bottom right, you will see you can change tracks, change the volume, pretty much utilize your music player as you're reading your book. I mean, I think that's a pretty good addition to this reader. Plus, I mean, just having the music there at all, there's not too many e-readers that have music anymore. I mean, Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Sony and Kobo, they all got rid of their music on all of their readers. They get rid of speakers and headphone jacks, and just they're wiping it away altogether. So it's refreshing to see a 6-inch reader that definitely can play music, and with good quality, mind you.
All right, so we've looked at the whole reading experience. This is what readers are all about. Of course, you know, you have pictures and settings and things like that. Not a whole lot of flexibility and control over this, but I like it. I would probably say if you're looking for a secondary e-reader, or maybe even your first one and you're not a fan of touch screens, this is a pretty good one. It's pretty sweet with PDFs, so no matter what type of book that you download, you can change a lot. I really like a lot of the settings for the EPUBs and PRCs. Being able to do line spacing, margins, publisher defaults, and have a ton of different ways that you can increase the size of the text will make this e-reader very accessible for young people and very old people and everywhere in between as far as your vision goes. So I would rate this probably about an 8 out of 10. And Peter, final thoughts?
I think it's, like I said, I'm really glad that we got to review this, because it's so refreshing to see an e-reader that's not made by the big four, Kobo, Amazon, Sony, and Barnes & Noble, that has audio, that has PDF augmentation settings, and you can just throw any content you want on there and it'll play it. And also, it's one of the only brands out that offers a 9.7-inch e-reader with full stylus support for touchscreen. And this does do full 360 orientation, and you can check out our review of this one, the Icarus XL, on youtube.com/goodereader as well. And I just think you can grab these from our retail partner shopereaders.com, and they will have both models up soon. And I just think seeing things from this line, it's given me a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, totally. I always love discovering new brands, and to be honest, before we had these sent to us, I'd never heard of Icarus, and apparently they're a European company. They've been doing e-readers for a few years now, and they got their stuff together. If you look at a lot of other competitors like Pocketbook, their e-readers are woefully slow. A lot of European exclusives are subpar. I love the XL. I would probably say this is one of the best e-readers that we've seen all year long, and it absolutely destroys both 6-inch and 9.7-inch e-readers in PDF control. So if you want an e-reader with PDF control and strong versatility, I would suggest to check out our review video on this, because if we were blown away, you'll certainly be blown away. So for a goodereader.com exclusive review video of the Icarus Pocket, my name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Everybody take care.